How many times do you go out to take wildlife photos and say to yourself, this is one of the worst locations I've ever shot in. It's got cluttered backgrounds, harsh light, it's full of distractions, and there's just nothing clean to work with. Most photographers, when they find themselves in this situation, immediately walk away. I found myself in situations similar to this the other day. But here's what I faced. And also, here's what I created from it. Now, I'm certainly not saying that the images that I'm going to share with you in today's video will be the next featured images in National Geographic. But what I am saying is this. Before you look at a bad situation and immediately dismiss it, step back for a second and assess it. I'm going to show you how I turned several bad shooting situations into something respectable, using nothing but positioning, shooting angles, light, and background control.
But you're stronger than you know. You'll never be alone when everything feels dark around.
Welcome to the channel. I'm Jeff. This is a place for photographers that want to learn how to create imagery that's more compelling and more meaningful by understanding what truly makes wildlife photography so powerful. As wildlife photographers, it's really easy to dismiss certain locations that are hard, locations that don't provide clean and beautiful backgrounds, locations that limit you from getting into the perfect position so you can use lighting in an ideal way, locations that require good field technique. I faced many of these challenges the other morning, as I often do in this location, and I'm sure you can all relate to this. So I wanted to make a video showing you parts of the location, right? The challenges that I was facing, my thought process, and the images that I created. If you really want to challenge yourself and push yourself as a photographer, you need to put yourself in these situations. It makes you think. It makes you see things differently, and it forces you to get creative. Let's take a look at some of the situations that I found myself in the other day, and we will work through these from the easiest of the locations to the hardest. Take a look at this first scene. Now, again, I want to stress, this was the easiest of the scenes that I had on this particular day, but I immediately knew what I didn't want in these photos. I didn't want the pier or the houses in the background to be present in the photo. Those were the obvious distractions for me. I am taking the picture standing on a concrete roadway at a boat launch. To the left of me is water, and to the right is a walkway that eventually leads into a parking lot where people store their boats. Now, you might look at this picture and think, this doesn't look so bad for creating images. But what you can't see is all of the obstacles that are directly in front of me. There is a wooden wall that comes up to about thigh height. And along the edge of that, directly in my shooting line, is a bunch of tall grass growing out of the marsh area. And as you can see in the marsh itself, the area where my subject will eventually be standing, there is a ton of high marsh grass there, and it's all uneven grass heights. So in order to eliminate the pier and the houses, I knew I would need to shoot at a slight angle that was going downward. But I also knew that not only would I need to work around the tall grasses directly in front of me, but I was also going to have to work with the tall grasses that would be surrounding my subject. I wanted to obviously avoid grass blocking him, right? Especially his face. Here are some of the photos I created in this first location. Let's take a look at the next location. This, of course, is the same pier that we were just looking at, except now I had moved my position. I had to walk down that walkway and then go to the right of where I was previously positioned. As I captured this behind the scenes shot of this old broken down floating dock just kind of sitting there in the marsh, it's kind of difficult to get a good grasp for the distance. So from where I was standing to that part on the dock where you see the poles and that like little electrical box, whatever that thing is, that might be a little bit further than what you might think. That's about 20 to 25 yards directly in front of me. Now, I've never been on that dock before. I've never utilized this as a shooting location. But on this particular day, I found a way to get onto the dock, which allowed me to get closer to my subject. Now, my subject had flown in and it had landed up on the railing of that pier that we see in the background. Now, I knew that I wanted to kind of accomplish a couple of things with this shot. One, I wanted to limit how much of the pier was actually visible in the photo. And two, I didn't want any part of the dock with the roof in the background as part of that photo. And I certainly didn't want the ramp that's coming down off of it to the right that's also behind the pier to be featured in the photo either. Those are just big distractions. So here are a couple of shots that I captured of my subject on the pier. Getting on the dock allowed me to get closer to my subject, which in turn allowed me to better isolate my subject by filling the frame with them. Getting closer also gave me an opportunity to have a slightly upward shooting angle, which allowed me again to limit how much of the pier that I was showing. And lastly, getting on the dock gave me more flexibility with my shooting angle because I was also able to move my position further to the left to remove that part of the pier with the roof on it. How about the next location? Well, in case you can't tell, I'm actually standing on the actual pier that we just looked at in the previous two images. But now I'm shooting back in the direction of that floating dock that we were just looking at in the previous location. In the previous location that we just discussed, I would have been standing about 25 yards to the right of that white house that you see right there on the left. But as you can see from my current position on the pier, we have a lot of distractions that we need to deal with. We have that white house with plywood on the front porch there. We have a huge roll of that orange wiring or piping or whatever that is. We have a boat in the background that's parked in that parking lot I mentioned earlier. And of course, we have a telephone pole. There's really nothing pretty going on here. And of course, with me standing on the pier, I'm extremely limited as to where I can actually position myself. Obviously, I can move a step or two to my left or right, but only by the width of the pier. The only real option I have for moving here is either moving closer to that house in those bushes or moving further away from it. Here are a couple of shots that I got from this pier, and what I did is I moved my body a little bit to the left, and then I leaned my body as much as I possibly could when I was up against the rail to the left, and I had to kind of twist the camera a little bit to kind of try to keep all of those bushes as my background. Now, this was not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but by using this shooting position and filling the frame with my subject, I was able to eliminate those distractions and capture this bird with a beautiful background. Let's take a look at the next one. So an eastern bluebird had landed on one of those little brown stalks that towards the top of that palmetto tree that kind of fan out. And there were several challenges and obstacles that came with this shot. And it may not seem that way, but if I had moved to my left, my subject was going to be completely blocked out by a lot of those different little stalks coming out of the tree. And if I had moved to the right, well, I would have been shooting directly into the sun at that point, and my subject would have been nothing more than a silhouette. Obviously, I couldn't go behind the subject, which would have been directly across from this behind the scenes shot because there's a building there. And of course, I would have been shooting at the back of the bird. So the position that I took was really the only thing that I had. But what I immediately noticed was the color of the building behind the bird. And I thought, let's blur it out because what a great background this will make from a color standpoint in relation to my subject, that eastern bluebird. I really just thought this is going to be a really nice complementary color in relation to my subject. So he wasn't doing anything overly special, of course, as he was really kind of more interested in figuring out what I was doing, but they're pretty much just simple portraits, right? But I love the way the background color of the house works with the colors of the tree and the bird itself just sitting on that palmetto branch or stalk, whatever you call it. So take a look at these images that I captured here. Now let's take a look at the last scene, by far the most difficult of the bunch. This behind the scenes photo was not taken on the same day that I actually captured the images that I'm going to show you in a second. The day that I captured the birds, it was actually a really sunny day, but on the behind the scenes shot, you can tell that it was pretty cloudy that day. So let me give you a little bit of perspective of what we're looking at here in this scene. Generally speaking, the sun is coming in from the left side of the frame. And obviously in front of me, you can kind of see that the trail continues on, right? And it just goes to an open field. Now to the right is some grass, but there are also a lot of distractions to the right side of the frame. There's actually an old broken down shed with tons of wood stacked in it from like old fencing or old part of the shed. There's a wood pile, there's telephone pole, there's electrical boxes, and there's some bushes over there too. Now behind me is a parking lot full of parked boats. Now, when we go back to that shot that I was taking from the pier, we could see the boat in the background, right? But directly in front of us, we have nothing more than a mud puddle. But there were some barn swallows and some European starlings flying in and out of this puddle. Now, here are some of the shots that I was able to create by shooting from different angles around this particular puddle. Here's what I want you to take away from today's discussion. Capturing good wildlife photos is not about finding perfect locations. It's about making the most of the imperfect ones, because the shot is almost always there. You just haven't seen it yet. The next time you're out in the field and everything is just looking terrible, don't pack up. Don't walk away and just go to another location. Step back and observe the wildlife in that area. What are they doing? Are there any patterns that you notice? Do they tend to gravitate to certain areas? And that last image of the puddle, those barn swallows are small, fast birds. And if I hadn't stepped back and observed their behavior, I would have never noticed that they were constantly flying in and out of that scene. There must have been 8 to 10 of these birds coming in and out of the scene every few seconds. And I could have very easily walked by this area, saw a mud puddle, and never gave it a second thought. But I slowed down, I observed, and I noticed activity and behaviors happening before me. I encourage you to do the same. Slow down, Observe a little bit more. Change your angle. Change your perspective. But most importantly, change your way of thinking, because that quote unquote bad location might be hiding your best shot. If you're looking for a powerful photo editor, I highly recommend checking out DxO Photolab 9. This is the software that I personally use and trust for all of my editing, especially because of their industry-leading noise reduction and their new AI masking tools that just make editing faster, more precise, and more consistent. Now, if you'd like to try it for yourself, use the link that I've provided in the description below. And if you decide that you want to purchase it, don't forget to use my discount code Magnolia at the time of checkout. This will save you 15% off on your purchase. You can also download their 30-day free trial and test everything out for yourself firsthand with absolutely no restrictions. And if you want to really learn how to get the most out of Photolab, then you need to check out my DxO Photolab Mastery course at magnoliaphotography.sc.com/store. Also a link in the show notes below. In that course, I walk you through everything from how to use noise reduction to how to sharpen your images properly and how to use the AI masking tools to get the most out of your photos. And there's some freebies included with this course too, including my full DxO preset collection for wildlife, portraits, nature, and landscapes. Hey, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day. I know you have busy schedules and busy lives, but I really appreciate you spending a little time with me to talk a little bit about photography. And hey, before you go, you might want to think about checking out this next video right here.